I think we will, unless they rig the numbers again. I mean, I wouldn't put it past them, but assuming they leave the CPI the way it is, probably we might see 10% next year.
Is inflation going to get worse in the coming year?
Well, it has to get worse. And in fact, and again, when you're talking about price increases, you're measuring the consequence of inflation. The inflation is the expansion of the money supply. And we know money supply is going to keep expanding. They're about to raise the debt ceiling, right? So we can keep going deeper into debt. I always laugh whenever they talk about it. Janet Yellen, when she testified the other day.
She said 6 times the government's going to be bankrupt this year.
No, but the funny thing is she said we have to raise the debt ceiling because it's important that we pay our bills in full on time. Well, if we paid our bills in full on time, we'd have no debt, right? The reason we have a debt is because we don't pay our bills at all. We borrow money so that we don't have to pay our bills. And what Janet Yellen really means is that we need to raise the debt ceiling because we can't pay our bills. The thing is, the government, Janet Yellen, when she tells everybody that if we don't raise the debt ceiling, we're going to default, that's an admission it's a Ponzi scheme, right? Bernie Madoff would never be dumb enough to admit he was running a Ponzi scheme. Right? That's Ponzi 101. You keep it quiet. Right? You don't tell everybody it's a Ponzi scheme because they're not going to participate.
All right. So that's the debt. Let's go to Social Security, because one of the things that I'm very interested in.
But before you do that, I forgot to finish answering the question as to why the inflation is going to be worse on a CPI. Look at producer prices.
Okay.
Producer prices 2021 up more than consumer prices. So businesses were seeing their prices, costs rise more than what they passed on to their customers. Now, why was that? It's because a lot of businesses were reluctant to raise prices. They're worried about losing sales to competitors. And they were told that it's all transitory. Okay, we'll take a hit for a few months. It's transitory. We don't want to reprice everything and then have to change the prices. So businesses kind of absorbed the rising prices and took a hit in their margins. But I think by 2021, or 2022 rather, a lot of these businesses are going to throw in the towel and they're going to say, you know what, we got to pass this on. It's not temporary. And I think you're going to see businesses much more willing to raise prices in 2022 than they were in 2021. I think really what the Fed's job is, as far as Biden is concerned, is helping me get reelected and kicking the can down the road until the next election. Well, what I would do, I would let the markets know that the Fed is no longer going to be setting interest rates, that the market was going to do that, and we were going to start liquidating our holdings of U.S. Treasuries because they should. And of course, in so doing, there would be massive losses the bill goes to the U.S. taxpayer. As the Fed unwinds its balance sheet, any losses are IOUs to the U.S. taxpayer because the U.S. government has to make the Fed whole for that. But also, I would let the government know that the Fed is no longer in the business of monetizing government debt, and that if you want your bill back better, you better figure out how you're going to pay for it.
Okay, this is what I want to talk about as well. Is they say it's cost $0. Is that bullshit?
Of course, it's bullshit. I mean, they always say that because their assumptions are ludicrous.
Like what? Break it down for me.
Well,
Professor
the revenue
Schiff.
Assumptions, they're not going to get the revenue. A lot of the revenue is supposedly going to come from extra IRS agents, getting the rich to pay their fair share. Well, they're not going to get much more money out of the rich. There's not that many rich people other than you crypto guys. And you don't pay taxes anyway because you never sell.
You're right? So salty. You're so salty.
You guys never sell, so they're not getting any
You'd
tax
be one of the richest people in the world if you had bought Bitcoin when you first heard about it. Keep going.
But they're not going to get the revenue. I mean, they're obviously mainly going to target the middle class. That's where the extra IRS enforcement is going, but it's hard to get blood from a stone. So I don't think they're going to get a lot of revenue. Meanwhile, all these new programs are going to cost so much more than they think. I mean, first of all, they act as if the programs are going to go away in 5 years because they don't want to count the spending in the out years. Although we all know that these programs never go away. Once they're there forever. I mean, we're still dealing with temporary programs from the Second World War. the war ended. Well, why are these temporary programs still in effect, right? They never go away. There's an old saying, I think it was Milton Friedman, there's nothing as permanent as a temporary government program. So to pretend that these programs are going to sunset is nonsense. But also, they have grossly underestimated the cost because the government doesn't understand moral hazard. They don't understand what happens. So part of the Build Back Better is everybody gets free preschool. Well, the cost of preschool is going to go way up once the government makes it free, because now the demand for preschool goes way up, and now the preschools start jacking up their tuition because they know
the defense industry. The defense industry says, "Oh, you're going to pay us all this money. We're just going to keep increasing the cost of it to you because we know you got a ton of money."
It's just like, look what government did to college tuition. Before the government started subsidizing college tuition and guaranteeing loans, college tuition was cheap. Government gets involved and it costs a fortune. So they're gonna end up spending a lot more on preschool than they think. But I think the biggest one is going to be, if it stays in there, because the Senate might get rid of it, but that is the paid family medical leave, because everyone's going to take that. They just assume that, well, only the people that actually have a medical emergency are going to ask for their 4-week paid vacation. No, I mean, didn't they learn their lesson from the PPP or the extended unemployment benefits? If you tell an American that they can have a 4-week paid vacation at 90% of salary every single year, and all they have to do is claim they have to take care of a sick friend or family member, you don't think they're going to say that
my
that's
brother
what they
just
have to
got
do?
sick? Damn.
They're going to take every single one of them will take it.
You tell me everybody that had a emotional support animal on an airplane actually needed that animal for emotional support?
Are you, Peter? You're ruthless. You going after the animals?
No, it's the people. hey, look. No, but people try to qualify for these programs. Everyone's going to want to take a month off every summer. So, oh my God, my uncle needs my help. My kid needs my help. I'm not feeling well. I'm depressed.
He just happens to live in Italy. I got to go to this.
Everybody's going to suddenly have a sick relative in the summer.
Yeah. All right. So when this happens, what is the impact? The programs cost more than they think, and then they can't get as much revenue as they think. So what is the impact, in your opinion, if this gets passed and implemented?
Well, it's just more inflation, because the Fed has to print more money. That's why the Fed is talking about printing less money. That's tapering, but they're going to have to print more money to fund these deficits. Otherwise, interest rates go way up. And what happens if interest rates go way up? Well, the deficits actually get bigger because now the government has to spend even more even more to pay the interest on the debt that it already has, not to mention the new debt that's being incurred. But also, when interest rates go up, it hurts the bubble economy because now everybody has to pay higher interest. So you can't spend more money on other things because your interest rates went up, your adjustable rate mortgage went up, your credit card interest rates went up. People can buy less stuff on credit because car loans are more expensive. So this whole bubble economy starts to unravel, and we go towards recession or into recession. And when that happens, government tax receipts fall, more spending on unemployment. So the deficits get even bigger. So the Fed has no choice, if it's going to keep everything going, but to expand the QE program, print even more money, create even more inflation. And so the price increases that we're experiencing now.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information, and it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
Do you want to know one thing about crypto? I made over 3,000% in profit in a few weeks. Fact is, the traditional financial system, the traditional money system makes you poor, not rich. If you want to earn $500,000, $1 million, you have to wait until you're 50, 60, 70 in the traditional financial system, and you probably will still be broke. And you will be old. This is not a sexy combination, as you can imagine. But the question is, how can you start in crypto and make these profits? Where to invest? Where to start? My name is Gunnar and I'm from Germany, as you can hear, and things are a little bit different in Germany. More about that later on. Fact is, there are lots of different cryptocurrencies. It's a gigantic universe where beginners and professionals get easily lost. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. There are 7 key steps you need to follow to become successful in this market. You have to know them, and if you fail one of them, it's literally impossible to succeed in this market. Just an example, one of the key points is your exchange, and one of the biggest are, for example, Binance and Coinbase. These are trusted and well-established exchanges, but, and this is a big but, you won't find the super profitable coins on those exchanges. The unknown super profitable coins that get gigantic profits are not traded on those kind of exchanges. They are traded on much smaller insider platforms that are barely known. And I can tell you what those super secret exchanges are and why they are so profitable. And another super important thing are the right information sources. The point is, the internet is gigantic. There are hundreds and hundreds of YouTube channels, blogs, pages, and much more. And there are also market makers and influencers. For example, Elon Musk, he is not a crypto guy, but the moment he recommended Dogecoin, it went through the roof, to the moon, so to say. But why did he recommend it? Where did he hear it from? He didn't hear it from newspapers. And believe me, he is listening to someone. But you have to know who, and you have to react before he is reacting. This is really, really important. And these are only 2 of the 7 steps you have to follow in order to be successful in crypto. And if you want to know all of these steps in much more detail, and if you want to have a comprehensive checklist, here's what you should do. There is a link below this video. Click on this link and you will get the opportunity to subscribe to my channel. Click on the link and you will see a video where I explain the next steps. So see you soon. Click on the link now. I'll see you there.